Staying off there. Okay, right. It says we're live, so we should be live. Right, welcome to everybody who has popped in. Good to see you. It's Tuesday, and we are live with our Tat Chat. I'm here with regular co-host Zaheer. How are you, buddy?
Hi, everybody. Yep, doing well. The usual, really. So yeah.
And I'm really happy. I'm really happy to say we've got our good friend Lonnie back on. Oh, I forgot to mute it. Hang on, one sec. I literally just said I'm going to have to mute that and then forgot instantly. Yeah, I was just saying we are so happy to have Lonnie back on with us. How are you, Lonnie?
Hi there, Nick. Hi, Zaheer, and hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. I am doing fantastic, guys. I'm finally getting back to reselling and sourcing. And after you've been away from it for a while, like I have, for 5 or 6 months, you really appreciate it. So I'm doing fantastic, guys. To tell you the truth, everything is great.
Good. I've been pleased to see that your videos are coming back out and you're getting out there, like you say, sourcing, garage sailing. Didn't you get a new storage unit recently? Is that the case?
Well, I kind of combined storage units. Like we had to move during the flood. We had to move all of our good stuff into storage, and I had that mixed with just a ton of eBay inventory. So I had 3 at one point, and it was just all thrown in together, and none of it was climate controlled. So I got a new climate controlled storage unit, and I set up like all my eBay inventory in that. And I've been trying to like put it all on shelves, because if you guys have ever had storage units, the key to those is to go vertical.
Yeah.
And, to keep everything organized. So I'm going to be working out of that, hopefully, because I don't want to live in this crap anymore. I don't want to be surrounded by inventory at my house. I want to keep it away.
I can understand that. I just want to say, for a lot of people that may be watching this, I mean, I've had many new subscribers since chatting with Lonnie back in the summer, I guess it was. We had Lonnie on, I think, just a week or so before your place was flooded. And then, well, I'll let Lonnie explain, but so you had big problems in Louisiana, I think it is, where you are, with the floods, and then you had other family issues. So do you want to just explain to people who perhaps don't know your story for the last year, what happened, so they can get up to speed?
Sure. So I was reselling full time. I had my YouTube channel going. It was growing very quickly. Some of that thanks to Nick and Zaheer here. And I came on the show, and I think it was about a week later, we just had torrential rains here for probably a good week solid. And the small town I live in, there's about 12,000 people live here, I guess. Probably about 80% of our town was underwater. And basically, I went and lived in one place. One of my daughters went and lived in another place. My wife and my younger daughter went and stayed at her parents. And our house was basically unlivable. And we had to rebuild everything, which is what we've done. So, we were lucky. We were fortunate. We had flood insurance. And also fortunate, I was able to do a lot of the work myself, or actually just about all of it. I had to call a plumber a couple of times, but and we were fortunate in that we had flood insurance and we owned our home. There was no lien, no mortgage, no loan on the home. So when the insurance company paid, it didn't go into escrow. Oh, I'm sorry, that's my little buddy Pippin. It didn't go into escrow. I got a check cut directly to me. So I was able to shift from being a full-time reseller to being a full-time contractor for myself. So that helped the financial hit.
I was going to say, I was chatting with Zaheer earlier, and we were saying, weren't we, that it was amazing to see you just click like that into, okay, I've got to rebuild my life now. I've got to rebuild my house. And Zaheer, you were saying it was just amazing to watch, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's really amazing. It's something that we can all learn from. It's the attitude. I mean, obviously, some of it's amazing. It's amazing that you were able to do that work yourself anyway, just on its own, on a standalone perspective. But like you said, having that upheaval it's life-changing stuff, isn't it? And I just think it's amazing how you've actually been able to so quickly rebuild so much, and then still have the energy to be so positive about it, and to, you know, hopefully you're going to be like back on YouTube and with just to build on as you were before, and with the reselling. And it's something that we can all learn from, I think, in a way. I mean, even God forbid should anyone else have to kind of go through the same kind of trial, but the attitude is what just sticks out, really.
Well, we had a lot of help, and we had, well, and I must mention too that I remember it was like a week and a half or 2 weeks after the flood. I actually had a little time. We were finally all together. A family took us in for about a month, and we were all together in the same place. And I actually had my phone out, and I said, well, I'm going to catch up on a little Nick Hills. And I watched, and lo and behold, Nick and Zaheer were both sending well wishes our way, and they were concerned, and it was just like really super duper heartwarming, and really lifted our spirits, guys. So I mean, that did not go unnoticed. I was so excited, I'm like, Candace, look, Nick and Zaheer are talking about us on their show, you know. So that was pretty cool.
Mate. You're so welcome. No, I think a lot of people were genuinely concerned. You know, it's hard to get our heads around exactly what you were going through. You know, we've seen these videos with your house in a complete mess. It was quite a shocking thing to see from the outside. I mean, God only knows what it was like to be in the middle of it. But yeah, and then the other thing I need to ask you, how is your wife? Because I know you've had a lot of health issues as well.
Well, that was the thing. You know, we made it through the flood, and then my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. She got her yearly mammogram, and it was detected extremely early. But you don't know that raw up front, because they say, why don't you come in? We need to run a few more tests, and oh, it looks like you have cancer. We don't know exactly what kind or how far it's spread. So there's about a month going by where they're running all these diagnostics. So you don't know exactly what you're dealing with. You don't know if you're almost dead, or if it's something they could take care of and it'll just kind of go away. You don't know exactly what you're dealing with, but it turned out it was stage 1 cancer. It was very, very small. Like you couldn't even detect it through a self-examination, like, squeezing or pressing or anything like that. And they took it out, and there was no spreading of the cancer. She's going to start radiation next week. It takes a while to heal from the surgery. She's going to do 6 weeks of radiation every day, and then she'll be done. It'll be in the rearview mirror. So, but I wasn't happy that it happened, of course, but it does kind of help put losing stuff and property in perspective.
Yeah.
At that point, none of that stuff matters. Money and worldly possessions don't matter if the people you love aren't there. It really doesn't. So
in a funny way, having gone through that afterwards has put all of that in clear perspective and helped you get through it, I guess.
Right. So now we have all of our stuff. We're coming back. My wife is alive and healthy, and appears to be, going to be with us for a long time. So, I mean, everything's great. What do I have to complain about? I'm back on YouTube. I'm getting back in business. I'm talking with you guys right now. So, hey, I've got nothing to complain about. Now, I will tell y'all one thing, one story I want to share, and then I think we can move on to reselling.
Yep.
Right after the flood, I had it all planned out. The flood water was coming up, and we tried to get out that day. There were no roads out. Okay, so we could not evacuate. So I told my wife, I said, look, we're going to be good. I've got all these MREs. Are y'all familiar with what MREs are?
Yeah, those are like those supplies that the army have.
Yes, meals ready to eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a case of those. I threw them up in the attic. I had water, put that up in the attic. I had a sledgehammer just in case the water really came up high and I had to bust out of the attic. We had flashlights ready. I was ready to go. I was prepared. And once the water actually came in and it started rising, we were all sitting on beds, and my wife she couldn't handle it. She kind of wigged out. So she sent, our phones were working still. So she sent a text message to a fairly well-connected friend of hers in state government. And 30 minutes later, we had a U.S. Army aviation Black Hawk helicopter hovering over our house.
No way.
Yes. I don't think I told this story. So we go out on the porch, and there's a boat coming up to the porch, and they come and get, first they get, I think my wife went first. No. Yes, my wife went first. And the helicopter was hovering about 80 feet above the water. And they sent a guy down on the line, and they hooked up, brought her up, and did that 4 times. I had my wife, my 2 daughters, and my mother. And they brought them all up. I stayed with the animals here at the house, in the flooded house. And they helicoptered on out of here. So that was and I didn't have the foresight to take video. It was just such a nerve-wracking thing. I didn't even think of it. I wish I would have. It would have been really, really cool. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Watching your family get taken up in a helicopter.
That's quite an experience. What was it like whizzing up the wire for your wife? Did she enjoy that, or was it just too in the moment to even take?
No, she did not enjoy it at all.
No.
No, she did not enjoy it at all. And the kids, I can't even get them to talk about it still.
Oh, wow.
I think they were just, they were terrified. I never went through anything like that when I was a kid. So I can't imagine how they feel. And they don't want to talk about it really. So I understand.
Wow, what an experience.
Great friend to have on speed dial though, Lonnie, definitely. I mean,
it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone that could summon like a chopper that quickly, or actually, what do you mean that quickly? No, not at all. No.
Yeah, my choppers take a while to arrive.
Oh.
Well, that's a fantastic story. I just want to dip into the chat because we haven't said any hellos, and there's a lot of people saying hello in there. So let me just
110 people watching. So yeah, a lot of people popped in.
Yeah, let's just scoot to the end. So a few quick hellos. It's Kevin in there, Retro Vintage 65, Jay, Brooke, Fin Fashion, lots and lots of people. David McGregor. There are some questions coming in which we'll touch on perhaps in a second. Chelsea, Treasure Pirate. Hi guys, thanks for popping in. If you do have questions, just type question and then put the question to us, whether you have a question for Lonnie or either of us other guys, and we will do our best to
There's
answer.
a few hellos from Louisiana as well. Swamp Pickers in the chat as well. Kayla H as well. So a few people in there.
Fantastic.
Hi.
There was a quick question was, what is Lonnie's YouTube? It's Garage Flips, isn't it? Is that right?
I was ready. I made a sign. That's it. Just search that.
I'm sure Nick will add the link to the bottom.
We'll put another link down. I can thoroughly recommend the channel. So that's answered that. There was another one I saw quickly for Lonnie.
David McGregor had a question
That's
for him.
The one. Yeah, do you want to read that?
Yeah, he says, in the US, do you have small charity shops spread across a town like here in the UK, or is everything donated to one big local store like Goodwill? So, I mean, in your town, in your situation, what's the deal? I mean, is it just big superstores or mom and pop stores as well, as you call them?
In an easy driving distance, I have probably about, 5 Goodwills. We also have something called Salvation Army. Yeah. They run little thrift stores. Most churches around here have a thrift store of some sort, but they're not. Most of them don't run like all week long. Some of them will run like once a month, or maybe on the weekend, or one day a week, something like that. I'm not a big clothing seller. I'm not really a clothing seller at all. And around here, thrift shops are like probably 90% clothes. And so I don't frequent them very often, to tell you the truth. I do go every now and then, though.
Has it never crossed your mind to maybe dip into that market? Because obviously it is the most easily available thing out there, and you know, there's a lot of info about it. I mean, or is it just something you just don't see yourself actually getting down to list?
Well, you know, I was actually watching, I was catching up on some of your videos the other day, Zaheer, and I think it was in the, you and Rebecca did one for the new year. And you were talking about selling something. And, oh, you were talking about, I think, retail arbitrage. And mostly you said it just wasn't something that appealed to you, that wasn't something you wanted to get into. And clothing, to me, I mean, I'm barely wearing clothing, and I don't think, I don't have a sense of style. I don't enjoy clothes. It's not fun. And, you know, we're working for ourselves to, you know, because we don't want to feel like we're going to a job. If I had to come in here and list clothing every day, I would feel like I was working at a job again. It would not be fun. I want to have fun, guys.
Yeah, yeah, we've touched on this a few times. The key is to do stuff that you're into and you're passionate about, because it makes it a lot easier to do, and it makes it easier to source the stuff. If you're having to force yourself to do it, you may as well go and get a 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? So yeah, I do understand that. I was going to say, I caught up briefly earlier on your haul of video games earlier, and you can see that that's where a lot of your passion lies, that sort of stuff. And that was a great haul, actually. Those Final Fantasies are going to make you a fair bit.
Well, Nick, I'll let your viewers later on watch the video. I think it's pretty good. But one of the Final Fantasies, I opened it up. It was Final Fantasy Chronicles, or no, Tactics. Yep. I opened it up, and I was about to list it, and there were 2 discs inside. There's only supposed to be 1. So I lift the disc up. It was a Final Fantasy disc on top, and it was Suikoden for original PlayStation was underneath. Are you familiar with that game?
Yep.
I mean, I found basically $80 underneath that top disc. That's the stuff that makes me excited. That's the stuff that I have fun with, not going through racks of clothing.
And it sounded like you had a great score, because I think you actually said it in the video that it looked like they were adult owned. So the kids hadn't spread them around their bedroom and stood on them and messed them up, because that's half the battle with video games is condition, especially when you get towards the collector's side of video games. Condition is everything. So yeah, great score, that really great score. And hopefully, like you were saying, and I think this is really key, you've got a contact that you can nurture. And I wish I had more contacts like that will ring you up with stock. That's a perfect situation.
Well, while I've been working on the house, I think I've been thinking about, you know, things that I could improve. And I think that's one. I've been reselling full time for about 2 years. And I think that's the biggest mistake I've made, is when I first started, like for the first year, I would sneak around to garage sales, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was going to resell their stuff, because I was worried they wouldn't want to sell to me as cheap, or they would get angry that I was going to profit off of their stuff. So I would act like it was for my personal use, or if I was buying a kid's toy, that's for my kid, you know. And I really was very secretive instead of being open. And I think that was a huge blunder on my part, because right now I'm thinking I could have 10, 20 people out there sourcing, working for me for free. You know, and I don't, because I was so secretive and, you know, closed up. And I'm going to change that, though, starting right now. I'm going to go out with cards, and I'm going to, you know, say, hey, I'm going to resell this stuff or whatever, unless I feel like they can't take it, you know. Yeah,
that's a really interesting approach. And I'm more on the side of, I just keep quiet and do my thing. And I've had, well, we've probably seen in some of the videos where Zaheer and I have discussed about some of the attitudes towards resellers, and that puts you back in your shell, you see, because a lot of people, I've had people shout at me because I'm looking stuff up on eBay. You know, I've had that attitude right in my face in public, and that puts me back in my shell, not wanting to tell others about it. Whereas sometimes when I have talked openly, it has led to better things, like that massive haul I had. Recently, all came because I spoke openly to the guy and said, have you got more of this, because I want to buy the lot. And then it's obvious you're a reseller. So I broached that subject, and it led to one of the biggest deals I've ever had. So
there you go.
Where do you stand on it, Zaheer?
It's difficult. I think I can see the benefits of it. And if you actually look at the more successful resellers that are, at least on, like, for example, YouTube, they're very open about the fact that they're resellers. They're very open about their eBay stores. They're very open about the whole thing when they approach people. I think one that sticks to mind instantly is Chad Goldenfinger Picker. He's always talking about being the guy, and I love that. I actually love that thought, especially when you're doing something, like Lonnie, you said your passion is in the electronics, in the video games, and I love that stuff as well. But I suppose the problem is it's also very competitive. It's very sought after, so you need an edge, and I suppose that's when you can have an edge by being the guy, having your cards out in the local area, so people know to maybe contact this guy before trading it in, or before giving it away or anything, to contact you before, so you can actually get to the source. So rather than just waiting for your garage sales and things like that, to hopefully be someone that you could get like first dibs on everything. So there is a benefit to that. And I often think that, especially since moving up north, in like a smaller area, I kind of feel like it would be such a great position to have, to be the guy. But you've got to be brave about it, and you've got to take action. I mean, I've been saying I want to do cards and hand them out for a long time. I still haven't done anything about it yet. So
it's certainly food for thought, and I think I'm going to give that more thought. I've kind of lived in my own little shell about this most of my reselling life, and it's interesting to hear you talk about that, and I'll be interested to see how that pans out as well, and how much stock you get from these companies.
I just want to add to that as well. I think there was like a little topic about this at like our charity shops in the UK. I mean, and I know this is also a topic over in the US, that places like Goodwill, etc., they're charging higher and higher prices for their items, right? And everyone always complains about that. But the thing is, when these things don't sell, or when stuff's sat on the shelf, rather than them reducing the prices, that stuff often gets sold for pennies by the kilo to, like, the rag man. So for example, clothing goes to rag man, and then they have people coming to collect media as well. So sometimes the media doesn't even make it to the shelves. It just gets sold by weight to these companies that are getting these amazing deals. And it's because they're like, those companies are like the guy, aren't they? They're the guy. They've gotten in at the source. So the media is not even making it to the shelf, because the charity shop know they've got a deal with this guy that they'll come and buy all the media they get in for a set price. So they have to probably take some rubbish, but they're probably going to end up with a lot of great stuff as well.
Yeah, that's one thing whenever you're dealing with somebody like that. Like, I have this new contact. He does, if y'all haven't watched, he does house cleanups for a real estate agent. They buy a foreclosed piece of property, and 9 times out of 10, all the possessions are still there. All the possessions of the people that live there. He just has to go in and clean it out. He can keep all the stuff. So I gave him a list of things I wanted, and he's contacted me twice now. And I think one of the key parts of that particular relationship is, when he contacts me with something, I need to really lean towards buying it. Like, not saying, okay, I'll take this, but not that, this, but not that, because then he's still left with a bunch of stuff he needs to liquidate. And he might make another contact, or he might not be so quick to call me. And on that same note, I think I also need to pay up just a little bit in those cases to keep him motivated to call me, instead of, golly, I wonder if there's somewhere else I could get a little more money than that cheapskate is trying to give me all the time. So
you're absolutely right. You're going to need to essentially look after him as a contact, and create that relationship where he doesn't think you're ripping him off, and he doesn't feel the need to go looking elsewhere. Where could he get more? Because he's happy with what he's getting. So just
like a relationship, right? Like a girlfriend or a wife or a husband, or what, I mean, You don't keep them happy, then we'll have to go look elsewhere.
You need, yeah, it's reliability, isn't it, as well?
Yes.
Like it, you know, you're gonna have to make him think really hard before he goes to get a better price, because then the new guy might buy at a higher price this time, but will he buy the next time like he knows that you will?
Right. And you always got to have cash. Always have
Yeah.
cash. You can't be like, can you wait till Friday? You know, you got to have, okay, I'll meet you in 10 minutes. Here's the cash. Pop, pop, pop. Because cash is king.
Right. There's a couple of quick questions. I see that Vinny's in there. We kind of covered this a bit, but Lonnie, what would you say were your favorite items to sell? If you had to pick a couple of items, what would they be? Video
games, audio, electronics, calculators. I sell board games sometimes. I mean, I'll sell anything that's cheap enough that I can source. But yeah, I would say video games and electronics. And I like quirky, weird stuff. If I ever see anything weird, I'll buy that. You know,
that's a hell of a big subject area.
I know.
The weird. That's cool. There's another one here from Dean. It says, do they have car boot sales in the US, or is that a swap meet? Do you know what our car boot sales are and how they work? Yeah,
I think you pay like $10 or something like that, and then you park your car and then you sell out the back of the car.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay. So we have things here called flea markets, and the flea markets have like permanent booths set up, like underneath, usually an open roof. You know, there's a roof, but there's no sides, and people set up in the booths. But then a lot of times there's also on the sides people that set up and sell out of their cars or trucks or vans, similar to that. So, I mean, we have something like that, but typically they're trying to get pretty close to retail in these kind of situations. So, and there's not a ton of them out here. So I would say it's somewhat analogous, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah. So garage sales are the mainstay of where people, a regular Joe, would sell their stuff. It's just set up out the front of your house.
I would say so, but I also would say that a lot of younger people are probably leaning more towards Facebook and apps. You know, I don't know if y'all have the same apps or not, but like Let Go and Offer Up. I've started sourcing quite a bit there. So I think we're probably going to see a shift from garage sales to those online venues as older people die off and younger people come up. They're more familiar with the technology. Now, it's not going to happen fast, but
no, there's definitely a shift with Facebook actually implementing, you know, a selling platform properly. That's
right.
Taken off, and then we've got other apps that are up and coming, and Gumtree over here, which is like a bit like Craigslist, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to change over time. We got any more questions going on?
I think a lot of people are very interested with the whole, you know, building relationships, building contacts approach, you know, rather than just, you know, going to charity shops. Because again, like with anything, I suppose it's the harder something is to do, the more valuable it will be in the end, won't it? So and going to a charity shop is the easiest thing to do, or you know, going to a Goodwill is the easiest thing to do, because you know where it is, it's indoors, it's available, it's the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Going to a garage sale or going to a boot fair is slightly more difficult, because it means you've got to wake up super early and you've got to be super pumped and positive to get there to get the best stuff. But the benefit is that you get slightly better stuff at better prices than you do at the Goodwill or at the charity shop. And then, you know, so it kind of, the effort you have to put into something does directly correlate with what you're going to get out of it. And I think that then obviously you've got your auctions, and then I think having contacts is the most difficult thing to do out of that lot, because it's out of most people's comfort zones. Anyone can go to a Goodwill, the stuff's there. The whole point of a Goodwill is for them to sell you stuff. Same with an auction, same with a car boot sale or a flea market or anything. But to create a contact at one of those places, or to put yourself out there just generally to make contact and to build relationships from those contacts is much more difficult, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that the word you said in there is what I had instantly in my head, which is comfort zone. And I've lived in this, like I said before, in my kind of shell of a reseller, not letting the rest of the world know what I do. In fact, before YouTube, I didn't talk to anybody about this, let alone going into a charity shop and saying, hi, this is what I do. That's
Nick,
so
that's not fair, though.
Out of my comfort zone. And it's not what I'm comfortable doing. Even at a car boot sale, it's not my go-to thing is to say to a seller, I'm going to resell this on eBay, you know?
That's not exactly fair to yourself, though, Nick, because you had a retail location for clothing recently, and then before that, you had didn't you had a video game store or a movie store?
Yes, yeah. See that? Yeah, I suppose it's kind of departmentalized. Is that the word? When I used to have the video game store, that was an exchange place, and we advertised, bring your stuff to us. So yeah, in that sense, I've been doing it for years. But it's
right.
I suppose in my headspace, when I'm at a car boot sale or in a charity shop, I'm in my own little bubble and I'm not telling anyone else what I'm doing. It is quite a secretive little thing, isn't it?
I know. It almost makes it sweeter, doesn't it? If you're secret about it, you know, you feel like a spy or a secret agent, you know, going on a mission or something. So,
I definitely when I'm doing retail arbitrage, I do. I love that. I feel like I feel like a spy going around supermarkets scanning. It's funny.
It's quite a leap though to be at a boot fair, or imagine at a garage sale, and you know, say you're dealing with someone and you're buying some of their stuff. That's what most people are comfortable doing. I think the big leap would be that to then say, here's my card. If you find anything else that you want to sell, or you know anyone else that wants to sell something, give me a call. That's such a small thing to do, but that's a big leap to take.
The thing is, it's proven that it really works. And I mean, Lonnie, you said you're already having success from it. And I follow a guy who's a video game collector. I've mentioned him before. Great channel. It's called CJR. I'll try and remember to link that as well. He does a bit of reselling to fund his gaming collection, but he mostly goes out and sources direct from garage sales up in Canada. He is, and he has cards that he hands out, and he has a list of questions that he asks the guys, you know, have you got any of this and this? And it leads to other people, or it leads to, like you said, to hear a family member who might be having a clear out, or a family member that's got one of those old Nintendo thingies somewhere in the loft. So it's about remembering to be mindful and ask the right questions. And I think I'm going to make a card. I think I have to make a card. Let's tell ourselves that, hey, we'll do this.
Yes.
Make a card. Yeah.
I need to make a card too, but I was thinking, like, I don't want to. What are you going to put on your card? Are you just going to put your name,
I think you need to have prompts, because one thing that you notice when you talk to people, even at flea markets and things, is unless you can guide people, it won't be in their head. Like, I've been in a situation at a boot fair where, you know, you get those guys that are rushing around first asking, have you got any video games? You got anything? They're so used to their kind of script. They'll just rattle off video games, mobile phones, perfume, jewelry, Lego. That's it, right? And because they're just rattling this off, there was a guy that pulled up and he was like, no, I haven't got any of that stuff. And I just went there and asked, like, do you have any like Nintendo or anything? Oh yeah, I've got this Game Boy. Because the thing is, video game didn't click to the guy that Game Boy. That's what Game Boy means. Sometimes I've been at a boot fairs where I've asked, do you have any games? And the person's like, yeah, I've got some games. And to them, games means a Monopoly or a Scrabble or a board game.
Yep.
You know? And you're like, oh no, I meant video games. And then still it won't. You know, so I think you have to have prompts on.
I think like a card. I'm imagining a card that's set. It's got my name.
If I sell anything, just contact me.
And then on the back, on the back, quite specific things, because I don't want people. I have tried in the past. When I was a Lego specialist, I put adverts out asking people to sell me Lego. You end up with so many calls that are very vague, or they want too much money. You almost have to be really specific about what you want, not about price, because then I don't know. But I think you would need a list. I'm imagining a card on one side, contact details on the other, a pretty specific list of what you want. Otherwise, people are going to contact you about all sorts of rubbish you don't want. Would you think?
I've also gotten response. I don't know if you guys can see. I have a T-shirt under here. It's an old vintage Donkey Kong T-shirt.
Oh, I love that.
And I've actually had, I've walked up to a garage sale before. And they'll be like, "I know what you're looking for," and they pointed me in the direction just because of my T-shirt, So, but yeah, you're right. A lot of times they'll direct you towards like DVD movies or something like that if you just say video games.
Maybe we should have T-shirts on that says "I buy video."
Cool.
Hey, I'm not that bold, but if you are, I think it would be advantageous.
Yeah, I couldn't rock a T-shirt like that. I'd be so self-conscious. I'm self-conscious enough as it is, let alone a giant beacon saying I'm a reseller. But yeah. No, I'm definitely...
Vinny has just said that he's always trying to build contacts, and he made a recent contact with a couple that have been bringing him sealed Pokemon decks. They've been back 3 times now, and each time I'm getting more and more stuff. I mean, Vinny, just to let you know, Lonnie, he's actually got like a trading card collectibles type shop. So, yeah.
Ooh, sweet.
Oh, sorry.
Whose ka-ching was that?
Not mine.
Yeah, I got an offer on something.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just yeah, he's taking obviously advantage of his position there to be able to create contacts, but you have to do the work.
I can see. I'm just thinking through this, having a card, so it's easy. You don't have to get into much of a conversation. You can say, "Here's my details. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z." And I can already picture a few people I could hand that to. The guys that are regular house clearance guys that turn up and empty a van out, and I get a few good deals here and there from them. Those sort of guys are in the market of turn it over. They're going to get another van load next week. If they know you're going to buy X, Y, and Z from you, why would they not just text you? You know what I mean? So they're the chaps that I'd feel quite comfortable, because they're businessmen anyway. It's not like they're a regular Joe who's just selling their kids toys. They're businessmen in the market for making money and turning over stuff. So I'd be really comfortable speaking to them.
Do y'all have storage units there?
Yeah.
That's one of my other contacts. I bought something off of an app, Let Go, and I went to pick it up, and it ended up he was a storage unit manager. And he said that occasionally when people move out of their storage units, they'll leave stuff behind.
That's right. I saw the video. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I've actually thought about, getting my cards printed up because I don't have them yet. And there's storage units all over the place. And just going in, talking to the manager, make a little small talk. Hey, if you ever come across any of this stuff, give me a call, fast cash. And, because that all those guys get all kind of stuff, whether they're supposed to have it or not, they're going to have stuff.
Yeah. You could go to the level, Lonnie, of printing off a little leaflet of the things that you're particularly interested in and just sliding it under every storage unit door.
I think the personal connection would help, but yeah, I think that could be effective too.
Yeah. There's so many ways of thinking about this. And,
exactly. I've often thought about flyers, like actually just posting flyers through people's doors. If you've got any this stuff, call me, because I've watched that show in the US, Toy Hunter. The guy that goes around people's houses and he basically does buys toys, but collectible rare toys, and he's always going to people's houses. Obviously, it's just like a TV show, but the idea of it is he's finding things that you're not going to find regularly, if at all, at a boot fair or because you got to remember, guys, that a lot of charity shops and things now, they don't even let the good stuff reach the shelf. If they know something is valuable, it's going on their eBay store. I go to a charity shop regularly where they've actually got on their displays, check out our eBay store at whatever it's called. So that if something's being donated that they think they can get good money for, you're not even getting a chance to buy it. So you kind of have to just, be there as early in the chain as possible, I suppose. Well, obviously,
was going to say, talking about leaflets, before I started doing YouTube, about a year before that, we used to rent a unit and we were just buying and selling clothing. And in order to get our stock for that, we experimented with delivering leaflets. We were specializing in kids' clothes before we had the kids' clothing shop. And we were offered more stuff than we could ever buy. It was because there's just, everybody has too many kids' clothes and they don't know what to do with it. Most of them are just donated or given away. So when we were offering cash, we were swamped, absolutely swamped. So it does work, but you have to be very specific and perhaps pick quite defined niches, I would say.
Yeah, I don't even be posting them into 4 and 5 bed detached houses.
Yeah. You only want decent stereo equipment.
Yeah, the high. Yeah, I mean there's a couple of interesting comments in the chat. I mean, retrocable.com says he thinks that the UK has a different attitude to resellers. Quite a few people in the UK who don't want anyone making a profit from their items. And French Fancy says the French are the same, don't want to sell to someone who is making money out of their stuff. I mean, how do you find that attitude compares to what you come across, Lonnie? I mean, do you think it's similar over in the States? Because I think sometimes over in the UK, I think people look towards the States as like the land of milk and honey as far as no, as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. People think that it's better over there. You know, you've got these giant superstore thrift stores, and people know that everyone's about making money and the hustle and all that kind of stuff. But surely you must have people out there that won't want to deal with you if you're a reseller, or I mean, or do you think there's similar attitudes? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just thinking we're all people, like, you know.
No, there are. I mean, there are definitely people that you know, the worst thing in the world is for you to profit off of their item. For sure. And it can get ugly. It really can. Like, they can get like actually angry about it. And you know, we're in sales though, guys, and part of sales, one of the, you know, the biggest part of sales is being told no over and over and over. Not necessarily in our region of sales, but most sales jobs, or most people that sell things, they're told no over and over and over and over, and then they get a yes, and the yes makes all the no's worth it. So and I would say maybe 10% or 20% of the people I deal with. But now you have to consider your audience too. Like, if it's just a one-time shot where Granny's going to the nursing home and they're selling her stuff off, well, you don't necessarily want to make a relationship with those people. You just want to buy their stuff as cheap as possible. But if it's like Nick said, somebody that's constantly getting new stock and you kind of sniff that out, well, he's a businessman too. So you know he's going to understand profit motive and capitalism and wanting to make money. He lives that too. So I think you just have to consider your audience before you go in. You have to have some wits about you. You can't willy-nilly just spray it all over the place, or you're going to get some mad people every now and then, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I've seen some of those mad people firsthand, and they didn't take to me too kindly. I've just seen a question that I want to quickly answer. Peter Smith asked, does anyone know why Sean has stopped making videos? Sean's taking time out from social media and YouTube. He's got a lot on his plate. I spoke to him. He's absolutely fine. So just to cover that question. Swamp Picker's got a message for Lonnie. He says, Lonnie needs to stop buying things with my fingerprints on them.
It's the same way. Swamp is Glenn, and he lives in Baton Rouge, and that's both of our stomping grounds. So when I put my videos up, quite often I'll buy things that he picked up and looked at and didn't, I guess, think had value or something he wasn't interested in, and I'll swoop in behind him and pick it up and make some money. And it works both ways. We just kind of specialize in different things, I guess. So
I remember driving through Baton Rouge when the year before we had our daughter. Andrea and I drove from which way around is it? East to west, and we drove all the way along the top of the Gulf Coast there. Lovely part of the world. Before the big floods that they had many years ago. And yeah,
You know, I was looking at a map earlier because I was trying to kind of get an idea how big the UK is in comparison to the United States. And it's pretty tiny. The UK is, the closest I could find was, I think, a little bit smaller than the state of Oregon.
Yep. We're
And
tiny.
we got 49 other states. So when you guys ship something, is it based on location? Like if you ship something within the UK, is it based on location, how much it costs, or is it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much a flat rate. Some
Okay.
couriers, if you send to the Highlands of Scotland, there'll be an extra bit to pay, but it's pretty much a flat rate for Royal Mail, certainly, like first class and second class. If you're sending it to the top of Scotland or you're sending it to your neighbor, it's the same rate.
Because here, guys, I don't know if y'all know or not, but you know, if I send something to say Texas, which is relatively close, it might cost you know, say $8. But then if I send that same exact package to say Seattle, which is over 2,000 miles away, it could cost $30 to $40. You know, so I mean, I guess you guys don't deal with that there.
No, we don't have to. But does that make it a headache for shipping costs on eBay, or is that built in based on zip code or something?
Well, we do calculated shipping where eBay will automatically calculate that shipping and add it. But what it does do is it makes offering free shipping much more problematic if you're selling larger items.
Yeah.
You know,
because you don't know how much out of your profit you're going to be accounting for. So always have to go for the worst case scenario, I guess.
Right, exactly. And a lot of times I found whenever I do offer free shipping on larger things, when I've done it before, it's a better deal for the people that are farther away, so they're the ones that buy it. You know, so those are some of the things we have to deal with here that I guess y'all don't have to deal with there. I didn't really think about it till I looked at the size of the UK.
Yeah, we're tiny, absolutely tiny country.
Yeah, all squeezed in together.
Yeah.
I mentioned Scotland before. We've got the old haggis hunter in who says greetings from the dark and incredibly cold land of Scotland.
We've actually got 135 people watching now, so thank you for joining us. Lonnie is a great guest to have on the chat, and he's great to listen to. So, you know, I'm sure you guys have got lots of questions. You know, put them in the chat and we'll see whether we can pick them out.
As ever, if you enjoy what we're talking about or the chat in general, please give us a thumbs up to let us know you appreciate it.
Adam Butterworth, I wish I knew what that snowboarder figure was. I've like behind me, I've got like.
Oh, you still got that one? Oh, you still got both of them?
I've got both of them, yeah. I mean, it's heavy, but.
Is that still listed for sale?
Yeah, I just don't have a clue. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I might keep it actually because it is really cool.
Don't keep it. Sell it. Sell everything.
I don't know what it is though. I don't know what it is. I think because of that, my keywords and everything, they're off. I don't know how to describe it properly.
I can imagine a surf shop would love that on their wall. You've just got to find the right person. It's just about marketing it right.
Yeah, I think it was from like a like a surf or snowboard shop, I think, but yeah, snowboarding thing. But yeah, I've got no clue, Adam. If you find out, let me know.
Zaheer, did you sell your Prince jacket yet?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Wow. Yeah, how'd you do?
Not well. I just got rid of it for like £100. So
that's about what you paid, isn't it?
Yeah, just I ended up getting rid of it. I needed the cash at the time, so we ended up doing a few auctions, and you know, it went at auction. I was disappointed, to be honest with you. It still hurts talking about that.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, it's all right.
I always maintain there is no shame in selling something on for what you paid for it, because you can't expect
it was just so cool, Nick. I'm not going to.
But in the overall picture, don't lose sleep about it, because cashing an item that's sat is just as important as making loads of money on another one. You know what I mean? Getting that money back out of stuff, even if you just cash it in for what you paid. I don't think there's any shame in that. And you know,
I think I'd gotten attached to it though. I think that's the thing. I think I wanted it. It's one of those.
Did you just want to keep it and wear it out to the boot sale?
Oh no, I'd never wear that. I don't think I'd fit in it, to be honest. But I would never wear it to the boot sale. No. It's so cool to have. Let's have a look.
Kim says she was in a charity shop today and they were refusing stock because they had run out of room. She watched bags and bags of stuff walking back out the door. I mean, they have so much stuff. We were in one the other day and they have a massive, like, literally about 7 foot by 5 foot wide thing on wheels. It's about 4 or 5 foot deep. And in the space of time we were there, which was about 15 minutes, that had been filled with donations and they wheeled it out the back. It's just like it's like a machine, these places. You know, the mind boggles the stuff they had in there. They had a really nice vintage MB board game, one of the rare ones, but they were selling it for like £25. There wasn't much margin left, so I left it. And you forget sometimes they get all of this for free.
Yep. It makes you wonder why they price it the way they do, though, right? Like, they price things up and then they're turning away donations on the other side of the building because they haven't sold the stuff they have. I don't understand that.
The thing is, I've got no issue with them pricing high, even though they get stuff free. I think what does bother me is that when things then don't sell for the price, for the ridiculously high price, rather than just slashing it to get rid of it, they, like I said, they have these deals now where they sell it by the kilo instead. So rather than, you know, if they've got overpriced DVDs or games or clothes or shoes or whatever, rather than reducing them down like dirt cheap, rather than letting you or I have them for like £1 or $1, what they'll do is they'll reduce them a bit, but never that much. And then tons and tons of this stuff just gets picked up in a van at the end of the week. And that's the frustrating thing, because the thing is the charity's making less money that way as well, because they're just paying they're just getting paid by the kilo from these companies that are just, you know, not giving them a great deal. Whereas if they put the same stuff on for like £1 or $1, it would sell, or 50p even. Why, you know, 50p an item is going to be more than what they're going to give you, these ragmen and these media companies. So
yeah, I don't begrudge at all charity shops trying to get the most out of their stuff, and I think they're constantly tweaking and adjusting what they do to get it right. It can't be an easy formula to get right. You've got endless stuff coming in and you've got to turn over X amount. But yeah, sometimes I guess we all sit back and say we could do that a lot better, but it can't be an easy task.
Well, I'm sure you don't have the greatest business minds in the world running these places either. So
that could be part of it. It's mainly volunteers, isn't it?
Right.
I've just seen a question for me. David Morse asked, how are the triple DVDs you got performed sale-wise? I don't think I've sold any of those yet, and they won't sell probably until Christmas. I got them. I only went on those because they were dirt cheap, but they're not great sellers. I've sent some into Amazon, so we'll see how they go.
I have a question for you guys. How did y'all get Andrea and Rebecca to come on YouTube with you? Because I've tried to get my wife Candace. She's very pretty, very engaging, very interesting, and I can't get her to come on my channel for anything. How did you guys get your wives to come on?
I think we started when Beck started talking about wanting to do reselling as well. Like, you know, when we were moving, so she was coming to the boot fairs with me anyway. So I kind of just said, I kind of sprung it on her. Let's make a video, you know, like let's just like I don't know quite how it happened now, but I think it was just doing the boot fairs in the summer. Just started sharing videos together because she was out with me anyway, and I said to her, "You're here anyway. What, you know, you just help me do it. Just, you know, it just kind of just. I think I wouldn't say I forced her, but she loves it now. I mean, she was very anti it at first. It was not anti necessarily, but she didn't see it as something that she would enjoy doing. She's not someone that's normally like, she never thought, oh, I'm going to make YouTube videos. But she's found that she just loves it. She absolutely loves doing it. So, but yeah,
it was similar. Sorry to interrupt. It was similar for us, I think, because by the time Andrea joined in, I'd probably made like 200 videos. So it was already a big part of our life. And then Andrea kind of got involved in some, like when we would go out to the jumble sales and we'd make a vlog of it. She naturally would appear in those, and she slowly got more and more comfortable. Andrea is way more shy, perhaps a bit like Beck in a way, and didn't automatically think, yeah, I'm going to put myself all over YouTube, because that's a big deal for some people. And it was for me, to be honest. When I started, I was really, it was a struggle to you know, be natural and be normal on video, and I think a lot of people find that hard. But Andrew is starting to enjoy it a lot more now, which is good, and does want to make more videos.
I guess I forget that, because when I remember when I first started, and not live videos, but just, you know, where I'd film myself and then upload it later. A lot of those early videos, I would do like, I would start talking and I would have to do like 10 takes.
Yep.
You know, I had so much left on the cutting room floor. It was ridiculous. It was so stupid. I just wasn't comfortable, you know?
It's not easy to do at first, but like with anything, you get comfortable, and then you just like, it's now, it's almost part of like our routine now. You know, like we feel like we've missed out on doing something in our day if we haven't, like, you know, we don't put out videos every day anyway, but like we try.
I'm just looking in the chat.
Got 140 people watching now.
Wow. Joe, who goes by My Pack Rat, is in there. Hi. I love his videos. Just seeing if we've got any more questions we could tackle. We've been live for nearly an hour, so we probably don't want to go on too long. Oh, here's a good question. We'll all answer this. The Hillsman 25 says, when something sells, do you know exactly where it is, or do you spend an hour looking for it? If I start, I like to think I know where everything is, but it's not always the case. Things get moved, things get put under things, and yeah, just recently I lost an hour trying to find it because it was so small and it had been put under a load of plush. It was just out of mind. I couldn't see it, didn't know where it was, and that drove me to destruction. So yes, I like to think I know exactly where everything is, but it isn't the case. What about you guys?
Lonnie, you go.
Well, usually when I make a sale, you know, like I would say 95% of the time, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where I got it. I know what I paid for it. I know everything about it because I just remember that stuff about my items. But when I don't, it is a catastrophe. I've spent an hour before looking for something to make $5 on that I made $5 on. So the biggest monumental waste of time. And you were asking about storage earlier. This time I'm labeling my shelves. I'm putting that. I'm going to have little, different sections of my racks, and I'm put like A1, A2, A3. I'm going to put that in my eBay listing, or not in the listing, but like you have a inventory spot or something like that where you can actually put private information about the item. Yeah. That's one thing I'm changing because that has been a pain point for me in the past, for sure.
You have a system of crates, don't you, Zaheer? Similar to that, are they numbered or labeled?
It's not really a system. Yeah, I've got lots of boxes in which I put things. Beck has kind of come in and organized it somewhat. So she's added like labels to things. When it was just me, I just threw stuff in the boxes and then opened the box. I kind of knew roughly what was in what box, but now I'd be lost because back then I didn't have as much listed. Now there's so much more listed as well. So labels on boxes. It's very basic. I don't think I'm ever going to have that much inventory to the point where I'd need anything more complicated, but it depends really on how big. A lot of the items I sell tend to be quite big and bulky, so that helps.
Sorry guys, I've got a really tickly cough. I can't get rid of it. I was going to say, in some ways, having lots and lots of smaller items is a lot easier to handle. Because I've shown these before, but these are fantastic. Little shelving things, which I can't now move, that have ready numbered drawers. There's virtually nothing in that. It's perfect for Lego or whatever you're doing at small jewelry or stuff. I'm going to have to go get a drink because I'm about to have a coughing fit.
No worries. Yeah, David McGregor says that my organizational system is called Rebecca. I'd say, yeah, that's probably right. So it helps. Definitely helps. Let's see. Okay, UK reseller asks, do any of you out there travel around Britain maybe once in a while, being that there are more chances of getting great stock? Travel, I mean, I travel around. I mean, you travel around anyway, don't you, Lonnie? Even though obviously the question is aimed at within Britain. I mean, you travel to where the stuff is, right? I mean, how far are you willing? How many miles? I mean, I'm happy to drive quite a few miles out, you know, to try different things.
I typically don't. I typically keep my sourcing within probably about 30 minutes drive from the house. There's enough. I live next to a pretty major metropolitan city, though, so plenty of sourcing opportunities there. I don't have to drive further than that usually.
Yeah, as long as you have like a radius, I suppose, like, you know, 30, like I said, 30 minutes is good. 30 minutes out in any direction. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
You go any further than that, you open yourself up for major disappointment, because then you might not get the goods, and then you've wasted time and gas and all that. So,
Hicksy's in the chat and he says he's glad to see you up and running again, Lonnie.
thanks, Hicksy. That's Steve, huh? Steve Hicksy.
Yeah, Hicksy, that's right. Yeah.
I've just saw a comment from my pack rat, or Joe. He says, I sometimes regret, this is going back to when we were talking about should we be open about being resellers. He says, I sometimes regret letting people know I resell. They'll come up and ask to sell something, you know, as a favor, and not figuring in time, photos, shipping, the risk and everything else. Yeah, I've had that. Can you, oh, Nick, you do eBay. Can you just plug this for me? I had it last week. Andrew's uncle just wanted me to sell a PC game on Amazon for him. But then when you go to them, you have to say, oh, yeah, I've got to take off £7 fees and this and that. And it's like, you know, they don't understand, A, what goes into it, and B, the amount of the fees that have got to come out. You have to explain all of that. Yeah, I've been there.
I don't do it. I don't do it for anybody. I'll buy their stuff if they want to sell it to me, but I'm not going to consign things. No way.
Yeah. It's fraught with problems.
There's a question from Graham Nichols. He asks, does Lonnie keep his inventory small with fast turnover, or does stock linger like Nick's Tat Cave?
Well, you know, we spent most of the time here, guys, talking about sourcing and stuff like that. But I could see behind you, Nick, and I'm sure Zaheer is in a similar state, and I know I am. Sourcing is not the problem. The problem is listing. The problem is getting my stuff listed. I have so much stuff that's not listed right now. I could not source for probably a year and list my stuff, and you know, so.
So you say that, like, I used to think I had like a lot of stuff, but it turns out I didn't have as much as I thought. And especially with Rebecca listing as well, we're like up to date now.
Wow.
It's kind of uncomfortable, because then you're twiddling your thumbs, and then you're wasting time because you've got to go out and get more stuff, and you know, it's the pressure's on to keep finding more stuff.
We had an interesting conversation, didn't we, where you were saying, I'm coming round to having a backlog, Nick.
I want to have a backlog. I think that when the boot fair season starts, I'm just going to I'm going to have a backlog. Definitely. I'm going for it.
Zaheer, do you think maybe you could have charged a little more money then? Because, I mean, if you have too much stock,
well, we kind of, the problem is, like, we need turnover at the moment. In our country, it's basically financially, we need to keep moving stuff on. So we're kind of on a bit of a treadmill at the moment. So
gotcha.
we need to keep turning it over. So we can't afford, we need the cash flow. But so we're listing more, but then we're listing and we need to keep feeding that as well. And it's just, it'll be easier when, I think, with the boot fair start, because we'll be able to get more stuff for a lot less money. Because at the moment we're paying up a bit more for the inventory we're getting, because we tend to be getting it from, you know, like the charity shops and the auctions. So you tend to pay higher prices for the stuff. Whereas I think also focus wise, I end up going for all the big ticket items. So I tie up all my money in
right.
you know, like I went to a charity shop and I spent £100 on like a hi-fi. Most people don't spend £100 in one charity shop purchase. They'll get bags of things for £100. I'll come away with one thing, and that's it. So
that's a good point, actually. It's some people, and I get wanting to go for the big ticket, and I do want to move more towards that. But you're right, you have to tie up more money in it. Whereas if you buy 10 items for £1 that you're going to flip all of those for 10 to 15 pounds each, the returns per investment are actually better, way better. So it's, yeah, a mixture of the two is good. I just saw a question, but it's gone. I was going to say, actually, going back to stock, I'm actually, it doesn't look like it, but I'm doing quite well with my backlog. There's a lot more holes in these shelves, a lot more gaps than there ever used to be. But yesterday we went out and we were in a charity shop. I won't spoil what it was or go into the details of the stock, but we found some stuff that we're really interested in. And I actually asked the lady, do you have any more of this? Because there was lots of similar items. And she went out the back and there was a massive haul of this stuff. So we bought everything. We did a deal on everything. So I'm going to do a video with Andrea tomorrow. It's not the best pickup ever, but it's some cool stuff. So yeah, it's an addiction.
How often have you uttered the words, how much for everything? I don't know how many times I've said that.
I mean, what I will say though is that when you know the balance for high value and lots of smaller items, I think with the smaller items, at least you also feel that you're being kept more busy. I mean, the stuff that I tend to pick up, which, like, you know, for example, this item I picked up for 100, I should be able to double my money on it. So that's like £100 sale price. You know, that's like selling, you know, lots of smaller items, isn't it? Like 10, like 10, you know, 10 £10 items or something. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it gives you that kind of big cash flow when you get it. But the thing is,
for one, which is fantastic. But likewise, the cheaper £1 items that you flip 10 of to make the same profit, the investment's tiny and they're easier to package, easier to deal with, easier to find. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I think
and then the pressure's less. So yeah, and then you don't have the pressure of getting rid of it, because you know you kind of, with the high value items, you've always got the option of waiting out for getting even more money for them. But when you need to turn over, you're obviously going to be a bit more aggressive with your pricing as well. So yeah, there's definitely a balance to be had.
There's a question from Divine J Bob. Says, I recently got a few vintage dolls from the 50s or 60s still in their boxes. I've tried researching them to get a rough idea of price, but can't find any info. How would you research stuff like that? Good question. I mean, my first port of call is eBay. And if I can't find any information on there, it's then Google and then Google image search. What about you guys? Have you got any other tips?
Throw them up in a Facebook group, a big Facebook group.
Yeah.
There's always an expert on something you have. And I think one of the reseller groups I'm in has like 25,000 people. And they're always able to identify stuff like that.
Yeah, good point. Vinny's just, I don't know what it is in relation to, but he said, like, selling Charizards for £20. That's referring to a Pokemon that I sold within like half an hour for 20 quid. And Vinny, rightfully so, it says I undersold that. I probably should have held out for way more. So just seeing if there's any more questions. How are we doing for time, guys? It's 1:15. Should we take one more question and then wrap it up?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's.
Peter Crawford actually says you can work too hard for the same turnover and small items, though. Yes and no. I was talking to Nick earlier today, and I was packaging up a bunch of items which really high value, which have given us a great sales week. They're not easy to. They're not easy. Smaller items are way easier to process. Like smaller, cheaper items, you can just knock them out. I was talking to Nick. I had like an 18-kilo coffee grinder to package. You know, and it's not exactly the most friendly shape. Turntables, they can be a pain to package properly. So they're just difficult. I think bigger high value items can just be more difficult. I think ideally we all want to be selling gold bullion because it's easy to ship, and it's valuable. But you know, it's not going to happen.
Like this morning, I shipped out 7 video games. I think I spent a total of maybe 6 minutes packing them up, because the video game, I just slide it in the bubble mailer and slap the label on and I'm done, right?
I wish I had that this morning, Lonnie. I just spent all day pretty much wrapping these things.
It's one of those things. I mean, it's like the grass is always greener. There's positives and negatives on everything you want to tell, what you want to sell, rather.
I mean, and it comes down to the passion again, because in a weird way, I love packaging that stuff. Like, you know, it's as much of a pain as it is. I get something like, you know, like turntables and things. Most people like hate shipping turntables because they're so delicate and it's so easy for them to be shipped and get damaged in shipping. I don't know. I just love shipping giant, bulky, awkward packages.
That's a good job.
Yeah.
Good job. You enjoy it.
I just get something from it.
How do you sleep at night having all that stuff out there though? Because then not only do you have to, you have to source it, which is hard. Then you have to find a buyer, which is hard. And then you have to pack it, which is hard. And then it has to make its way all the way to your buyer, which is all hard.
Yeah.
And you have to worry about it every step of the way. Oh,
you do. You do. I think what it is, what I found is then there's a benefit to every negative. There's, you know, every cloud has a silver lining.
Right.
What I found is, obviously the profits are really good, right? Like, you know, you're selling things for like, you know, 100, 200 pounds, whatever. You're getting good profits, and that's great. Sure. But I also find that the buyers tend to be, you're less likely to get any hassle from them. I've had more headache and hassle from people spending £5 and under with me than I've ever had from people spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Like, I've never had any problems with any of my high ticket items, touch wood. You know,
we get problems from people who make you an offer on a low value item that you think, oh, that's sat on the shelf for ages. I'll take a tenner for it instead of 15. And then they're the ones that complain. The ones that are driving the hard bargain, or the ones that buy things on auction. They're fussy as hell, and they can be trouble. But yeah, pretty much all of the real high value stuff I've ever sold, wonderful feedback, no problem, no nothing. You know. Me
too, but I still sweat it until I actually get a feedback or a message or something. Or if I get a message from them, I'm like, oh great.
Oh no, yeah, what's happened to it? Yeah.
And I'm saying, I love the package job, thanks.
eBay messages, period. It's like you get that noise. It's like, oh, even though it's only 1 in 100 is terrible. It's like, no, I don't want to read it. And then it's something like we sent a little soft toy out, like a kid's soft toy soother thing, and we had a message back from the woman saying that it's just, you know, she's so overwhelmed with it that she's managed to find the replacement for her daughter, and it was one of those moments where you realise what you're doing is a good thing. You know, and so I'm there opening the message going, no, and then you open it up and it's wonderful. So yeah, that was nice. Right, shall we draw a line under that? I think we've been talking Tat for way too long. It's now 7:20 here. What time is it there, Lonnie?
It is 1:17 p.m. right now.
Oh, lunchtime.
It is.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad that you guys are well and you're getting back into your reselling. It's a pleasure to see.
It's been great being here. And don't forget, everyone out there, and you too, Nick and Zaheer, we've got the best job in the world. And since it was taken away from me for a little while, I totally appreciate it. We're doing something really special here, and it's fun. So have fun with it, guys. And look, it's been great being on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. And thanks, Zaheer, for popping in and hosting with us.
I know, as always, I mean, Lonnie's attitude, guys, if there's something, you know, that you want to take away from this, you know, a lot of this is about attitude, how much you do and how you handle this. It's about attitude. And I think Lonnie's attitude is like something we can all look up to and learn from, because, you know, it's just awesome.
Oh, and we can end on a sale. That's 2 sales during the chat. That's not bad going. Fantastic. Okay, then we're going to wrap this up here. Thanks for popping into the chat. I know we weren't too hot on doing your questions as ever, but we got to a few of them. Appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Thanks again, Lonnie and Zaheer, and we'll see you next week for more Tat Chat. Bye for now.